Promised, I am on to the second part of this fairly quickly. What I want to do, as we discussed, is show how to change the start position so that I can pass it its own unique one, and then I can use that in order to make a hollowed out rectangle function that makes use of the rectangle that we're already doing. And I can use it to use both of those features to create a rectangular prism. So let's go ahead and do this. The first thing I want to do is, in addition to block type and data, I also want to pass along a position. And the position by default is going to be my position at the time of calling it. So I'm going to get rid of this start equals my position because we're now passing it as part of our variable. And I need to change start. I don't like that. I prefer position. Gotta do it here too. There we go. So I'm calling a rectangle, and as usual, when I've made a change, even if it's a little bit insignificant, I want to see if that still works. And it does. So I want to take a moment. Actually, I'll do this the more logical way. I will make a really big block, and I'll fill it in with air. And that should get rid of most of my stuff over there. Almost all of it. Good enough. Okay, so now I want to fill it in with wool. I like wool because it comes in different colors. I don't like whatever that light gray is, though. That's boring. Okay, so I'm making a rectangle. I want instead to work on a function that creates a hollow rectangle. Or an empty, we'll call it, because it's not actually hollow. And I'm going to pass it all of the same things I would want in my regular rectangle. Let's see. I did that poorly. I lost track of what I was copying. Instead, I'm just going to copy that whole line up there, paste it, and come over here. That looks good. I need to rename it empty rectangle. Hit enter. And right now, I'm literally just going to call rectangle with it. xdiff equals xdiff. ydiff. Oh, nope, I don't have a ydiff. zdiff equals zdiff. Block type equals block type. Data equals data. And position equals position. There we go. So I just am sending everything to call rectangle that I got from empty rectangle. And that's all. And as I do, I'm just going to go ahead and call it. And make sure that it works. And it does not work. Oh, because I keep calling it hollow, and it really should be empty. There we go. And I created a big giant 10 by 10 empty rectangle out of wool. Although I am not convinced that that is 5 wool. So close this. Look down here for our data. Wool number 5 should be lime, and wool number 6 should have been pink. So something is not passing correctly with our data. So let's get over here. It wasn't passing correctly up here is the problem. If data is here, then we call block type and data. Oh, I should go ahead and name these is probably what the problem is. Data equals data. Here's what's going on. There might be something else in the set block that I am not understanding. And I put it in names, but I relied on position. And I don't want to do that. So let's see. I need to find set block, XYZ, ID of the block, and data. So I want to come over here. Since data is optional, I need to actually name it. And I didn't name it. And so it wasn't getting called. So let's save this and run it again. It says unexpected keyword argument data, but that's what it says it wants. Let's go over here again and cheat, and we did just call it with the number right there. Okay, so it doesn't actually call it a keyword, it does put it in order, which means we were doing it correctly. But it's not listening to us. So here's how I debug. I go ahead and do something silly here. Like I print hello world to the controller. I need to remember how to do that. Post to chat. And then I say my name here, which is keys.username. And then I use this dot here to combine the two strings. And I want to put in here data equals, and then I'm going to use another dot and type out data. Okay, so this should say, if I've done everything correctly, it should post to chat, Fenchurchy, data equals, and 5, because that's what we passed over to data. And that should run if we have some data there. So I'll go over here, I'll run Minecraft stuff. It tells me I did it wrong. Invalid syntax. I don't know why that is invalid. That's what I would expect. Let me get rid of the spaces there. Oh, no, Python uses plus. I'm sorry. Nope, Python doesn't use plus. Oh, I know what's wrong. Okay, so usually it tells you that this is what's wrong, and it's not. Data is a number, and so I can't just append it like a string, so I have to turn it into a string. Now I'm telling the computer to treat this data as a string and not as an integer. Okay, third time's a charm. No. Okay, well, let's get rid of this string in here for now. I don't know what it's having a problem with there is the problem. And I don't feel like debugging that at the moment. No, string object has no attribute string. Okay, Python, convert integer to string. And that one's too busy. Int to string. Yeah, it should be working. Well, let's just post to chat data and see what happens. Because again, that's not something I feel like dealing with at the moment. Okay. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. It printed a lot of 5s for every time it knew that there was data. Maybe it's not passing as a string. Maybe it's passing, or maybe it's not passing as an integer like it should be. Maybe it's passing as a string since I said data equals none up here. So we're going to try fixing it that way. That didn't seem to do anything either. I'm just going to put a 5 in here and see what happens. And I'm going to stop posting it to chat since we know what it is. Okay. It's not taking it that way either. Okay. So it says that I want set block. It was working before. I don't know why it's not working now. Let's do it down here. It should be fine. Okay. Okay, now I'm just annoyed. Let us get rid of this 5 since we don't need it. And that's fine. And then go over to where we had perfectly working code here, where we said set the block using my position, the ID, and the data. And that looks all... Oh, yes! That's our problem. Look at this. We forgot to do ID here. And ID here. It should have given us an error on that, and it wasn't. So I think that's probably what our problem was. Let's try that now. Yes, that's what our problem was. And so I don't know why it wasn't giving us an error on that. It should have been. Now let's replace this with data. Let's change it so our color isn't lime green anymore. Run it and see what's happening. Yes, perfect. Okay. So, as I said, that's why I'm not actually going through and planning all of this out with y'all, is because I would like you to have a chance to see why things are acting weird for me and the debugging process I go to. So I want to go ahead and do error.id in here, run it, make a big patch of error for myself, and then I'll go back to wool. There we go. Okay. And the fact that I accidentally ran that with data equals 6 for error tells me that I can go ahead and give that as a data 0. I can get rid of this if data statement and just pass data equals 0 by default. And we should be fine. Okay, so back to making our empty rectangle. In order to make an empty rectangle, we first need to make a rectangle, and then we need to make a smaller rectangle with air in it. So my rectangle, my second rectangle, is going to be Oh, why does it keep fixing my equal statements? It's going to be xdiff minus 2 because our rectangle will be 2 smaller on each side. Our error 1. So it'll be zdiff minus 2. And then it'll be the block type will be block.error.id. Our data will still be data, or we could leave that blank. And our position is going to change. Oops. Okay. Our position is going to change by 1. So I need to go over and remember how to do that in my code. And I'm just going to copy this for a moment. I'm going to paste that. Get rid of that. I'm going to name this one new position equals position. And then I'm going to want to add 1 to the X and the Z so that it moves inside 1 in each direction. And I think this should work straight out of the box. Let's try it. What just happened? I don't know. Okay. It did not. Oh, because I didn't send new position over. I need to send new position over. Let's call that and see what happens. First, I'm going to take myself. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Higher into the air. Now I'm going to run this. And for some reason, it's not filling with air. This is my X, this is my Z. I'm adding 1 to each side. Let's go ahead, instead of saying air, let's make this dirt so that I can see what's happening, because it's really hard to see where the air is being placed if it's being placed wrong. And the thing is I don't see any dirt being placed. So I changed my xdiff by 2. I changed my zdiff by 2. Why don't I just put in a 3 and a 4 for those? I created my block type. I passed over my data, which I just want to be 0 actually. And I have my new position. Oops. And I'm calling a rectangle that should be filling in the outer rectangle with dirt. Okay. And I am calling empty rectangle here, which should be calling these two things in that order. So, oh, it's giving me an error that I wasn't noticing. Over here, the name vec is not defined. Did I not import? I didn't import my vectors. There we go. Okay. I wasn't looking at my error because it looked like my code was running. So save this, run it, and we have what I expect, which is a rectangle filled in with dirt. So let's run this one more time, and instead of filling it in with dirt, we're going to fill it in with air. And instead of having my x and z diff be just arbitrarily 3 and 4, I'll go back to subtracting my 2 one for each side. Oops, zdiff. Oops. I keep hitting Control O because that is how you save in Pico. Okay, now let's try running this again. There we go. I have a big rectangle filled with air. So I've got, oops, a hollow or an empty rectangle like I wanted. As you can see, we have some extra there, but I'm pretty confident that that's from some previous messing arounds. So now the next question is how would you turn this into a rectangular prism, which is what we're going to do next. And the way we're going to do that is very similar to how we do the rectangle, only we're going to add one more layer where we change the Y each time. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my rectangle. I'm going to paste it down here. I'm going to call it rectangular prism. I'm going to add a Y diff in here. And I'm going to call rectangular prism instead of empty rectangle. And I'm going to add one more 4 here, in which each layer changes the Y position. So one more 4 for K in range, oops, 0, comma, Y diff, colon. I want to set my Y equal to position.y plus K. And then I want to create my blocks with X, Y, and Z. And it should be as simple as all that, but as we learned last time, nothing's ever as simple as all that, including the fact that I almost forgot to pass over my Y diff value. So I'm going to create a 10 by 10 by 10 rectangular prism. Actually, I don't want it to be that big. I want it to be 3 by 3 by 3 because I'm tired of having to clean up my messes. Go over here. Come up here, call Minecraft stuff, and it says that there's a problem. Non-default argument follows default argument. Okay, what that means is I forgot to create a value for Y diff, and it wants me to. If Y diff had come first, then I wouldn't have had to have a value for it. But since it comes after something I created a value for, I need to have one here too. So now run it. And I look over and I have a 3 by 3 by 3 cube, which is brilliant. Now, as you can see, that cube is not hollow. And if I wanted this for a house, I would want it to be hollow. So I want to do the same thing for my rectangular prism that I do for my empty rectangle. So I'm going to copy just this top bit where I send everything over. Going to paste it. I'm going to put hollow in front to create a hollow rectangular prism. I'm going to actually go ahead and copy these two things from my rectangle. I know I need to put a Y diff in here. But that's the only thing I changed, except I need to call rectangular prism. It's trying to format my code for me. I need to figure out how to stop that. I don't like it. Do the same thing here. It's trying to be nice since it knows I can't see it since my window is small. But I don't like it. So I need to put a ydiff in here. Ydiff equals ydiff minus 1. And then I need to move everything by 1, just like before. And let's go see how this goes for me. I'm going to fly over here. Call this. I have a cube, 3 by 3 again. I'm going to beat into it, and I can see that it was hollow on the inside. We'll do it one more time with some bigger differentials here. We'll do a 10 by 6 by 7. Come over here, move myself away some more. Come over here, run it. And I've got a bigger cube, and let's go see if it is hollow on the inside. Oh no! It's not as hollow on the inside as I'd like it to be. What's going on? I don't think it's hollow on the inside at all. Oh, of course it's not hollow. We didn't call the hollow one. Okay. 5th time's the charm. We better hurry because my battery's dying on my computer. There we go. Now let's see if it's hollow on the inside. This is why we made a bigger one, is because I thought it looked hollow, but it was hard to tell with that little one. Yes, it's hollow. But it's also hollow at the top, which means we did some bad planning. Ah! Trying to get up. You can tell I don't play Minecraft as much as y'all. So for some reason, it's hollow at the top. I thought it might have been because we shifted everything by 1, but that's not the case. Oh! It's because these other two we got rid of 2 on, and this one we only got rid of 1 on. There we go. We kept it going all the way up till it hit the top instead of getting rid of that top. So, last try. We'll come over here. I'm going to make it a different color. We'll do lime green again. Run it. Find out where our lime green block is. There we go. Oops. Go up. It's not hollow on the top this time. This might have been easier to do on the ground, but I like flying. Okay. There we go. We are all set. That was this week's lesson on creating some rectangular prisms. I might go ahead and toss up a quick lesson on what we can do with classes so that we can send some information. We'll see what happens.